in an interview yesterday. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on that and the responses from European leaders after President Trump threatened new tariffs.
President Trump has continued to exert pressure on Europe in his quest to acquire Greenland. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent discusses why that is crucial, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press.
President Trump strongly believes that we cannot outsource our security because, Kristen, let me tell you what will happen, and it might not be next year, might not be in 5 years, but down the road, this fight for the Arctic is real.
Bessent says if there were an attack on Greenland from Russia or from some other area, the U.S. would get dragged in.
So better now, peace through strength, make it part of the United States, and there will not be a conflict because the United States right now, we are the hottest country in the world. We are the strongest country in the world. The Europeans project weakness. The U.S. projects strength.
President Trump wrote on Truth Social that NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. The president says world peace is at stake, arguing that China and Russia want Greenland, and there's nothing Denmark can do about it. The president also criticized Danish defenses in Greenland, saying they amounted to having 2 dog sleds, with one being added recently. President Trump said on Saturday that he's planning to add a 10% tariff onto Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, starting on February 1st. The levy would increase to 25% on June 1st, unless a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. European Union leaders held an emergency meeting yesterday over the tariff threat. EU Council President Antonio Costa said EU leaders have expressed readiness to defend themselves against any form of coercion. Costa is expected to convene a full summit of EU leaders later this week. Norway's foreign minister said they stand with the Kingdom of Denmark in defense of its sovereignty.
But we're also ready to do more together with America and with all our allies in the Arctic. And that's exactly why we are stepping up our presence in Greenland, because if there are security concerns, we can meet them jointly.
French President Emmanuel Macron called the tariffs unacceptable, saying no intimidation or threat will influence them. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said yesterday that he spoke with Trump regarding the security situation in Greenland and the Arctic, and that he looks forward to seeing him in Davos later this week. Meanwhile, the 8 European nations on Trump's tariff list have sent a small military presence to Greenland, intended to bolster Arctic security as a shared transatlantic interest, saying the deployment poses no threat to anyone. The White House said last week that the deployment of European troops in Greenland has not changed President Trump's mind on acquiring the island. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer today of Britain said that Britain is not planning to consider retaliatory tariffs. Starmer says although he feels President Trump's threat of tariffs over Greenland is completely wrong, a trade war is in no one's interest.
Firstly, I don't think it's right for us to choose between the US and Europe. And that's not a new position today. That's the position I've consistently held, as have previous governments, because we are allies with our European partners and allies with the US. And the strength in being able to keep both those alliances has served us well over the last 80 years.
Starmer said Britain supports the fundamental right of Greenland and Denmark to decide the future of the Arctic island. Germany said today that there will be a strong response to additional U.S. tariffs, adding that the European Union needed robust instruments to counter unfair trade practices. The country's foreign minister said Germany and France are in agreement. They will not allow themselves to be blackmailed. Sweden also responded. The country's finance minister said the EU should push back in response to Trump's tariff threat over Greenland. The minister said it was absurd that an American president would use tariffs as a threat in order to try to buy or take over Greenland. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson arrived in London today. He met with Britain's Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle.